Diyan meron sa Botanic Garden. Ano yung tao? Summer manggod. So,
Oh, dan si kene
Botanic.
sakay ta ako kuan. Makasakay ko ta ako. Wala ba? Bayad ka sa ko. Abi na ko libre. Libre ang park, libre duha. O kuan. Ay katong pagbiyahe sa man libre tatatanan. Hanggang yung pagbiyahe. Yeah. Ticket quality 5. Wala ko dyan ang gidabayad dito. Sa kakanan na naman. Paabot ta diretso yung para
Sakay pamigbas di ay. Na modern bus. Asam la punta?
Pangingi sa mo dito ko.
Pangingi sa.
Dun taksul.
Mangingi email niya, dili na may kagawas.
Di pakita ticket.
Restaurant man.
Surado hoy.
Di pakita ang ticket.
Pakita ticket ng gawas man.
Buwas sa bani. Eh na may sakay ta ato kalkaw. Alas 12, 40. Sakay ta atong buwan sa mga.
Oh, ano? Simod.
Iya tagit.
Wala yung ticket oh.
Na mangingi sa tali.
Libre ni dato.
Bayad.
May panilak ka na speak.
Libre ta ato tanan.
Kusiyan na to.
Kaya nga sa 75. Kung nagdagino sa 75. Dali na si mangita dito sa.
Oh, bayad ni.
Si. Mangita.
75 daw among bayad. Tulok buok, tabi 5 sa. Anak kami din yung school bus. School bus dire.
Mga tamad morning. Morning mutuyok og ganang.
Na school bus dire oh.
Mutuyok sa kwan.
School bus ni. Oh.
Tour na. Nagsaba.
Yan.
Anak kami ng school bus.
Ano yan ang sundot sa kwan?
Ang ID ninyo ay naglimkuan kay kita ang ID lang sa yung school bus dire ay. Oh.
Experience mo wala experience. Kain? Experience mo wala mo experience mo hindi ko manghas.
Way init ay ako saging hangin.
Sabi diri sa kwan, Botanic Garden. Sakay mi aning kwan kay tuyok man yan.
Di na mo mistel mo inom o kanang para pahubog. Sakay mo lagi ito tuyok mo ani. Hubog mo ito tuyok. Sakay niya ni na. School bus. Wam ni sa ona, karon mo lang ni. Lay padong diri oh.
Mo nay mo puli.
Oh. Hardland. Na school bus usa oh. Bus.
Wala yung mga sunod or
Gikan na rito.
siguro itong driver.
Driver kang barog ana stewardess ng green.
With them. All different shapes, sizes, and colors. Even the Dr. Seuss-like trees halfway down the hill. A purple fountain beach.
Tingin mo ang kwasa.
Common characteristic of each tree here is a smooth-looking gray bark. The Tampa trees have just started to bloom.
Das tubig ng yun na to.
Tama na yung daghang trees.
One of my favorites.
Mga kuwan.
And even looking at the Skokie River along the left-hand side, that runs for about a mile along our western border. It has 22 acres of floodplain, which in turn support about 200 native plant species. Off to the right, white spire birch trees make our smallest island picturesque every season. The name of that island is Spider Island. Across the water, you can see the top of the Regenstein Center. That's home to our 3 greenhouses, as well as 2 bonsai courtyards, and 32 of those ancient miniature trees are on display. And it is adjacent to the wonderful model railroad garden. 2 tree collections to mention here. On the hillside on the left, most recent collection are of magnolia trees, of which there are 225 species in the world. While on the right is our oldest collection of trees, the Aesculus collection. These are made up of horse chestnut and Ohio buckeye trees. Garden. The living collection here encompasses everything you see in the landscape. Plants are either curated by design, science, or technical improvement. The fruit and vegetable garden does have its own island, complete with 8 beehives, because of course we need pollinators to get our produce. When the produce is harvested, it's donated to the Roberti Community House in Waukegan. You can learn about the best Midwestern garden practices there, or come learn about cooking and the chef demonstration series, which takes place twice a month. About 700 different types of food plants are grown in this garden. About 3 dozen varieties of apples. And on weekends, there's actually a little place to get some food and drinks. The North Lake here is the largest lake in the garden. It's about 6 miles in total of shoreline here. Our lakes and shorelines, the river and its banks, provide fish, turtles, muskrats, frogs, not to mention aquatic insects and birds, and of course many different mammals. About 25% of the acreage of the garden is water. And that's why we have a lot of willows here, many different varieties, as willows are water-loving plants. So come out this way and walk the curving gravel paths that go back and forth across the road. Check out what's growing and how it's growing. To the far left side of this garden is plant production. Over 250,000 plants go through this area every year. Plants that are used for exhibits and displays, as well as educational programs and science.
Malang nito ato aging itong putol ba?
Science done at this garden informs other gardens across the country. The trees in this garden are deciduous conifers. We often think of conifers as being evergreen and keeping their needles year-round. But these, which include bald, cypress, and dawn redwood, actually lose their needles come winter time. Three tunnel structures have crabapple trees climbing over them. We have some rose evaluation areas and ornamental grass mounds in front of the production greenhouses. There are 28 rooms within this greenhouse. 55,000 square feet in total. For orchid cultivation, there's even a 12,000 square foot orchid area.
Big bang nga siya. Sambag ah. Sambag. Oh, tag cinto. Cinto, cinto bet size to
Goes over a small dam.
Cinto bet size.
This divides the lake system on the right, Skokie River on the left.
Oy ko ano, maliko.
And crossing that bridge brings us into the Dixon Prairie, where they've recreated 6 examples of different prairie types. This grassland is known as the Bur Oak Savanna. Trees have a hard time growing on a prairie due to natural wildfires. But the Bur Oak is a special fire-resistant bark, so it's actually able to survive those natural wildfires, making it one of the few trees to grow out on a prairie. Mowing that's done out here is one way of planting it. Controlled burns is another way. The island is an example of a wet prairie. This area is a small grass prairie, one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth. One time, Illinois was covered with such prairie. Less than 1% of those prairies remain intact today. Prairie is a beautiful, ever-changing place all season long. This area we've officially kicked off summer, and here at the garden that has started with Pattern by Nature,
school
our
bus.
summer theme. Oh, by the way, there's no eating on board and no snacks, please.
No.
If you have a beverage, just be very careful. It can be very bumpy at times. Don't want you to spill on yourself.
May kay init.
So Pattern by Nature offers gardens that have been planted in certain patterns. And there are art installations throughout the garden connected to the theme. There are maps that direct you to all that stuff. Now this garden was founded 60 years ago by the Chicago Cultural Society. And then they spent 7 years transforming what was the Skokie Marsh into the lakes and islands that make up the garden as you see it today. When the gates opened to the public in 1972, there was just one display garden for visitors to view. Since then, it has grown to 28 display gardens. There's a total of 9 bridges here, and it is spread across 385 acres. Picnicking is welcome here, and just to the right is the picnic area where you can do that. Nice overlook at a Japanese garden. There are restrooms there, and it sits directly across from the bike parking lot.
Sa una, wag yun sa una diri.
Bikes can go to the garden.
Wow,
But this road is a connection between the bike trails,
karon lang ni.
so it is popular to bike through here. This is the Mary Mix McDonald Woods, one of the natural areas of the garden. 60% of the garden is actually natural. This is an oak and hickory woodland. There are many different species of oak here. And the garden restored these woods back to their natural state by getting rid of harmful invasive plants, opening up the canopy to let in more light, and putting down native plant species. There's a nice wood chip path. It's just a little over a half a mile long, so you can take a shady woodland walk, which would not be bad on a hot day like today. Over 500 native plant species are now thriving in these woods. A lot of wildlife has returned as well. Next, your view opens up onto Saint Chouette, guarded by 3 islands. The first island you see is Horaijima, Island of Everlasting Happiness. It is named after a mythical island where mortal spirits were thought to dwell. Keeping with that theme, there is no bridge or walkways for us mere mortals. We can only view it from a distance since it represents paradise. When trees are grown in a way to make them look older and further away than they are, strategically placed boulders representing the bones of the earth. Santo is the island of clear, pure breeze. Looking between these 2 islands across the water, you can see the lower part of the waterfall garden. The waterfall cascades down 45 feet, recalling a mountain stream. There is a way to access the top of it. By the way, if any issue arises, like this wind blows to come back to the garden, we visit the prairie to see how it's changed and which birds are currently hanging out. Then we're going around the gravel hill prairie. On this type of prairie, the plants remain shorter as it is a drier, hotter prairie, as the hills are made out of sand and gravel, like what glaciers would have left behind. And as the rainwater runs through that sand and gravel, it does collect within the base of the hill. As the water from this reservoir seeps out, it creates a bog-like area called a our fence sits on the other side of this hill, which brings us to stop number 2. Moving forward then. Down at the shoreline is a sand prairie. It consists of short sand dunes with marshy swales in between. This type of prairie can be found naturally along the southwestern shore of Lake Michigan. Looking across the water is the Trellis Bridge, one of 3 bridges that
Gani
goes
wa yun ang lupa
to
diri no.
the beautiful evening island.
Katong katol. Katong katol wa.
To the left-hand side, you're going to see two birdhouse condos. These are the summer home to purple martins, which migrate here from South America. Purple martins make that 5,000-mile journey so they can feast on their favorite meal of dragonflies. We'll see other birds hanging out with them. And they are communal nesters that don't mind sharing their space. Evening Island is a 5-acre living tapestry of meadow, hillside, and woodland gardens. It does have the landmark bell tower, which is known as the Carillon, as the bells are played by a keyboard. This tower has 48 bells, ranging from 24 pounds to 5,000 pounds. The Serpentine Bridge is nicely bookended by weeping willow trees, which is the signature tree here. And as you glance across the Great Basin, the Arch Bridge is in the distance. A bridge inspired by the paintings of Monet's garden.
Dami na yung mo pala po na.
Across from us, this woodland is the western side of the sensory garden, where you're really invited to explore your senses with all the sights, sounds, smells, and textures to be found there. And it sits adjacent to the colorful enabling garden, which showcases techniques so people of all ages and abilities can have the opportunity to garden. Beech is an important family of trees. And this hillside on the right is cobbles off your hat. Don't try to retrieve it on your own. Wave your arms, yell my name, Neil. I'll stop the tram and walk over to help you. Looking in through all these bushes and trees, you'll spot a short footbridge. Two slabs of granite placed side by side form Hatsuhashi, or zigzag. A design intended to make one more aware of their surroundings. You do want to pay attention when walking over that bridge. Kyoto is the island of auspicious cloud. On the far side of this island is the Showa House. Two buildings that were built in Japan and then reassembled here by the same craftsman that had built it originally. It is modeled after a 17th century summer Japanese retreat. Also on both of the islands that you can access are arbor shelters next to Zen gardens. It's a place to rest, relax, and think, as thoughtful contemplation and observation is highly encouraged here. The style of the Japanese garden is miegakuri, or hide and reveal. Simply put, you don't see everything all at once, but sights are revealed gradually as you stroll through its paths. Of course, science is the main event at a botanic garden. A little bit of the science that takes place here takes place in these garden plots. These garden plots are built for plant in general, plants are put on a 4-year trial and characteristics can be compared from year to year. The focus out here is on sunny perennials. We're approaching the Plant Conservation Science Center. This building has 2 rooftop gardens. where they're testing a variety of prairie plants, and you can access them. The building itself is surrounded by a rainwater glen, where native water-loving plants help absorb and filter rainwater that can actually flow under the building as it's built up on pillars. It does make for our first stop if anybody was thinking of leaving the tour.
First stop ko nun. Sa pataas din niya siya.
Di na nakabalik.
First stop man. Hindi man tayo nga na-open.
Kalayo na to. Kung munaog ka, lakaw ka.
I'm sorry, we are good now? Moving forward then. This building is also home to the Nagani Institute, a global leader in plant-based research, education, and engagement. They are working toward a sustainable future for plants, people, and planet as they confront our greatest environmental challenges. A seed bank within this building houses over 100 million seeds. This 4-year-old garden is also an evaluation garden, and the focus here is on shade plants. So they're all along our riverbanks and shorelines. As we wind up to the north side here, you'll notice a great variety of trees, as there are about 14,000 trees at the garden. Of course, trees improve air quality, and air quality is a direct relationship to human health. Additions to the garden are made through both local and international collection trips. Must have been on some international trip at one time. This is a trio of weeping Serbian spruce came to us off to the right-hand side here. In their native land, they grow over 100 feet
Bali
tall.
day. Bali. Init.
It is recognized that this is the ancestral homeland of the Council of Three Fires, the Wijibe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi tribes, among others. Being that Native Americans are stewards of the land and its environment, it's only fitting that the scientists here aim to follow in their footsteps. And that's why they study and research plants, pollinators, and seeds.
May gusto lagi. Gusto.
The garden does support two community-based science projects. One is called Budburst, and the other Plants of Concern. Participation is done on a voluntary basis. I want to check those out. And we're approaching the Learning Campus. 7 acres of inspiration and education. They offer a wide range of classes to people of all ages. There's a children's growing garden here, as we have a summer camp, and during the school year, a pre-K. There is also a nature play garden, and this pathway off to the right leads to the Learning Cove. The screened-in structure is home to our summertime attraction of butterflies and blooms, though unfortunately due to the heat it is closed as of now. And this does make for stop number 3.
Sirado daw. Diha sa mga butterfly. Sirado mo.
I'd like you to consider the mission of the garden, which is to cultivate the power of plants to sustain and enrich life. Its tagline is plants, people, planet. The idea, of course, is to connect people to the power of plants. So people, planet, plants can all thrive.
So, ipungita ni mo.
Bawang bakaran na din.
Hope you liked the little tour, maybe learned a little something.
So, nato? Ito naman nakita, di ba?
But you have to have
Oy,
breeze.
suot dito. Ituyok ka man tayo
Either I duck into the greenhouses for a break, otherwise check out the rose garden, the always magnificent English walled garden. The Marlboro Garden is truly special. There's 19 garden scale trains go across the American landscape, bypassing dozens of models of American
Ambot
landmarks.
nyo sa pasil. Ambot nyo sa pasil doon.
And it brings us back. So it is safe.